Good afternoon, Mr. Abela.
Good afternoon, Mr. Martin.
How are you, man? You're looking well.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Can't complain. Summer on the way, yay.
Summer is on the way. It should be nearly there now. It's June, is it? You're in Malta. You're right there on the Mediterranean Ocean. I understand you got some ocean this morning, did you?
Yes, actually, it's a sea, so it doesn't live up to your ocean expectations.
Okay, it's still very, very beautiful and blue. That's
Thank you.
good. Good. So we're here today to talk about marketing. Thank you so much for agreeing to spend this time with me, with us, with whoever ends up watching this. You've made me feel terrible. I feel like I've had to bully you into doing this, but
You have
everyone
actually
knows that now, so that's fine.
the honest truth, but anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, good. So you understand a little bit of the format. The idea is that you tell us how you're qualified to talk to us about marketing, what it is that you do, how you offer value for your customers, how you feel about marketing, and then what are your recommendations for people in the current situation, i.e. the global pandemic situation and the economic situation. And then you are free to go and enjoy the ocean some more if that's what you'd like to do.
Most kind of you. Thank you.
That's okay. So tell us, Mr. Abela, how are you qualified to talk to us about marketing?
I've been meddling in marketing for around 10 years. Primarily with starting off with my own business. I had my own website, which I launched in 2000. So then I launched my ex-wife's yoga business, which involved using various platforms. Using email marketing, social media. Facebook had just been kind of launched. SEO was starting to become a bit more structured. And then when I saw that, things were picking up, it was just a case of investing in a number of courses in digital marketing, in SEO, in
like some graphic type stuff you do as well.
Adobe courses, just bits and pieces and putting it all together. So nothing really structured, but basically seeing how the market's developing and adjusting to the market.
Okay, of course, which is what good marketers do. Excellent. So you and I know each other because you attended the Digital Marketing Institute course. When was that? Was that 2015?
That was at least 6-7 years ago. No, one of your first courses in Malta.
I think it was the second or third course in Malta.
That's right.
That's what I think. So the first one was in 2014. No, the first one was in 2014. So maybe it was 2015. Yeah, good. Okay. And so when did you, because now you offer marketing services. So when did you move into that kind of situation where you're like, okay, I can offer this to other businesses now?
Well, basically, that must have been at least, so that was 7 years. So it must have been 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago, when I started offering it kind of full time. And I had enough demand and enough clients who needed that kind of support.
Okay. And then interestingly, what did you do before you ran your own businesses before?
Just before that, I was working in web development. I was a project manager on with a web development company. So we set up websites, custom software development. So basically, I saw that just selling websites to people wasn't the be all and end all. There needed to be some, it needed to be a whole process, an ongoing thing. So I was kind of like pushing that the web development company started offering more support services in digital marketing. I mean, to get the website out there, to get the message. I mean, just having a website there wasn't enough. I mean, when I launched my first website in 2000, you just plonked it on the World Wide Web, and you just waited for people to look for your services and use the website. That's all it was. There was nothing constructive you could do to generate traffic to the website. But as things developed, you know, more and more platforms were launched where you could actually actively go out and generate that traffic and get people onto your website. It was an e-commerce site, so it was important that I had a lot of traffic coming through.
Of course. And what were you selling on the site?
I was selling tours and cruises in Malta.
Okay, cool.
You know,
All right. And Malta gets, is it 2 million visitors a year?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Okay.
Yes,
So the population's about 400,000 and then there's 2
close
million.
to 500 now. Yeah.
Okay. You've been busy during lockdown. That's good.
We have.
Okay, cool. So you're kind of employed in web development, you ran your own businesses, and then you started offering marketing as services around 5, 6, 7 years ago. Okay, cool. So what is it? What sort of customers do you work with, and what is it that you do for those customers?
Basically, I've two types of customers. I have clients who come directly to me, who need consultancy and support with their digital marketing strategy, and I work directly with them. And then I have a number of agencies who bring me on board as part of their team to offer the same service to their clients through them. So in some cases, sort of, I'll be presented to the client as one of the agency's team.
Right. Okay. And you are more freelancer than company. You don't employ people necessarily. You don't have any ambition to employ people. That's good. Don't employ people. That's when it gets really difficult.
I'm very adamant on that. Before I worked in web, it was 15 years in tourism, and I was a leisure manager, and I used to organize leisure activities for English language students coming to Malta, and I had a big team. So I've been through all the frustration of employing people and dealing with all that
Stuff. Yes. The thing is, it's one thing managing people, which is a nightmare all on its own. When you are managing them and having to pay them, it's just obscene. I don't know how anyone does it. I was terrible at it, really bad at it. And so I'll tell you how bad I was at it is I would, because I read the 1 Minute Manager, I would tell people they're amazing until they upset me, and then they would leave in tears. It wasn't good. It really wasn't good at all. So that's cool. So you're offering digital marketing strategy to businesses. So part of what I'm interested in is I think people are reluctant to invest in marketing. I don't think people like marketing. I don't think people understand marketing, and I don't think they want to spend money on marketing. Is this something I'm imagining, or is that also your experience? And if that is your experience, how do you address that challenge?
Totally. I mean, it's looked at by the majority of clients and companies as a necessary evil. They only do it because they get the feeling that they have to do it, and if they don't do it, their business is going to go down the drain. It's out of all the platforms and all the channels that I use, it shows up most acutely with search engine optimization, because that's something people don't understand marketing. as a whole, but they really don't understand search engine optimization. So trying to get people to understand the importance, it's a long-term strategy. There's a lot of work involved. It's very technical. That's just the pinnacle of frustration when it comes to all the channels. Facebook, for example, when it comes to social media, people understand. So it's related a lot to how much they understand about the channel. If it's something they can relate to, then it's easier for them to get on board and believe in what you're doing.
Okay. And historically, Malta has always had a big showing on Facebook.
Yeah.
They were slow to get to Twitter if they ever did. I'm not sure if they ever did. They were slow even to take up Instagram, I think. But for some reason, Malta loved Facebook from the very beginning. Okay, so that's good. So why do you think it is then that people don't like search engine optimization specifically, or why don't they understand it? Because everyone uses Google.
It's related to their understanding of it. That's why they don't like it. If they don't understand it, they're not going to appreciate the value of it. They think it's just a case, okay, if I type something in Google, it just magically appears on the search engine results page. The whole process behind which website shows up is quite intricate to explain to someone who doesn't have a technical background. You know, it does take a bit of time for them to understand the framework and the algorithms behind how Google ranks your website or your web page, you know. So, and in the end, after a while, they just, I mean, it's like, well, yeah, this is too technical for me. Just tell me what I need to do. And you put together a package and you explain to them it's long term. The thing is, with Google AdWords, advertising, marketing, it's a question of you pay and you get. So the results are instantaneous. You put €100 onto a display campaign or a search campaign or a video campaign, and you get instant gratification. You get the clicks back to your site, and you can get back to the client. Okay, you spent €100, 10 cents cost per click. These are your clicks. With search engine optimization, it's just a long process, obviously depending on how good the site is, on your competition, on the latest algorithms. But it does take time. So by the time you start getting results, clients are like, okay, we've been doing this for 6 months and nothing's really happening. And you're like, yeah, but it's on its way. It's getting better. You know, you give them the reports, the reporting again. The reports are very complex, you know, and just printing out a report, even from something simple like Facebook, just printing a report from that, you need to explain it to the client. So unless they're understanding the value behind what you're giving them, they're not going to be happy spending more and more money on it. So it's always much, you know, it's always much easier to give a client, to set up a social media campaign for a client, or a Google AdWords campaign, and give them the results in a couple of days, rather than to set up an SEO strategy over a number of months and start giving them results in 6-7 months.
Yes. Okay, good. And I think you've got a particular issue. I'm agreeing with you 100%. The hardest thing to keep people investing in is search engine optimization, because there is so little feedback for so long, and it's a you know, it takes an amount of time to get to where you need to be, which is really in first position, because everywhere else is
totally
not worth having even. Okay, good. Right. So I agree with you 100%. You've also got a particular issue there, which I remember in 2014, 2015. So if you are a digital marketing lecturer with the Digital Marketing Institute, like I was, what
Yeah.
you do, turn up and you just have a go, like, and see how it works locally. Now, thankfully, the first time I went to Malta, I did the second 3 days, I think, and somebody who worked for me did the first 2 days. So he
Okay.
turned up the day before the course was due to start, and he
Okay.
went on Google and he did what we do as digital marketers. He starts looking for search volumes and all this sort of stuff. The first issue is you couldn't at that time, I don't know if you can now because Malta is 500,000 people, you couldn't actually select Malta as your target market because it wasn't recognized by. I think this goes on a lot for Maltese people. I've heard of people traveling on holiday,
I,
and
I think I think it's related to the size of our sea. You know, I think that's how Google defines if we're important enough.
yes, yes, yes. Now we know, like we were saying just before we started, Malta are ridiculously over. Um, what was the word we used? Overrepresented in these chats. This is the 14th chat. 3 of them have been with Maltese people. That's to do with the amount of time I've spent in Malta.
Okay.
But the thing is, so that's the first issue. Malta doesn't turn up as a market. And then you start looking at the search volumes, and then just not there because the population's not there. But they're also not there because the population is so small. So I think the thing about marketing, the thing about search engine optimization is that you only go to a search engine if you don't know and you don't know anyone who knows. Now, because there are 400, 500,000 of you, who doesn't know somebody who does something? Do you know what I mean? So locally, in a population that small, it's not likely to work. So I'm taking it that you're talking about clients who have more broader markets than just Malta, or are you talking just about Maltese clients?
Broader markets, plus websites and sectors which are um, a bit more high volume or a little bit more tailored to Google search. For example, when it comes to real estate, the trend is that people do spend time looking for real estate through Google.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
the
that's interesting.
volumes are there for that sector. So
Okay.
it does pay them to be ranked, um, on first page.
Yes.
But it's correct what you're saying. With such a small population, the metrics and the forecasts that you get for Google are obviously limited.
Very limited. Yes.
Very limited. Yes.
Okay, but then that brings me back to Facebook because I've got some experience. I delivered a course
Mhm.
to a property company there in Malta, like one of these ridiculously fast growing property companies, the fastest growing, I would imagine. And it was interesting because I went with my digital marketing bag of tricks, like think about this, think about that, think about something else. And I'm not even joking, 20 minutes in, they're like, yeah, we just do it all on Facebook. So this
Okay.
goes again to how effective Facebook have been with the Maltese population and how effectively people have used it to market themselves in Malta. So there were these huge groups with, like, I don't know, a significant percentage of the population, certainly the population who were looking for property, and they were all in these Facebook groups. And essentially all you needed to do was market yourself in those groups. And
Yeah.
that might be all that you needed to do. So it was an interesting 3 days from there once I realized that they had it down pat and they actually didn't need to know anything. I mean, we had a good fun. It was a good course. They really enjoyed it. It was, it might have given them some new ideas, but they already knew what they were doing. Okay, interesting. So, what is it that you mainly do for your customers?
Mainly it's mainly social media,
Okay,
um, Google AdWord campaigns
okay,
mainly, and then it's SEO, and email marketing.
okay. So it's actually pretty broad because I had the sense from speaking to you when we've had other conversations that there was much more Facebook going on.
Yeah, I mean, majority of it is Facebook and Instagram, totally.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
like I explained before, it's something that when somebody, it's the first conversation people have with you. It's like, yeah, I need to be on Facebook. I need to get myself out more, be more visible with my Facebook page. I want ads out there. I want campaigns. So that's the first thing they ask you for. I mean, they don't approach you with kind of an open mind. They already know that they need to be on Facebook.
Okay.
So you cater for their demand. I mean, then obviously you look at who they are and what they're selling, and you try and tailor the strategy according to what they're trying to achieve. So yeah, obviously I push Google AdWords as well. So those are the main driving forces of what I offer.
Okay, cool. So do they come to you looking for a strategy? Because that wasn't my experience. What we had to do as an agency is we had to present as the tactics. So we had to present as an email marketing company or a search engine optimization company or a social media company. And then we couldn't even charge them for the strategy once they came. We kind of had to give them the strategy and explain to them about integrated marketing and how all these things work together. And it works best if they are all working together. So are people coming to you looking for a strategy, or are people are coming looking for Facebook advertising, Facebook marketing, and then you develop them from there?
May possibly the clients that you're talking about, the clients I'm talking about, maybe mine are a little bit smaller. So it's not like they're putting out a tender out and they're getting a number of companies and seeing who's going to. Basically, they approach me directly. They see what I've done, word of mouth, and it's like, yeah, look, I'm looking for a Facebook campaign. I'm looking for, and then you kind of not upsell, but you broaden out and you tell them, look, if you're going to be doing Facebook and you've got this budget, you might like to spend a little bit on Google AdWords, because what you're doing would really work good on display, or you need to be there on search. And so you try to give them a kind of integrated strategy,
Yes.
And then obviously it's always different. Every client is, I mean, that's the fun of it. That's what keeps it interesting, is that every client is completely different. So you can't really tell a client, yeah, okay, totally, Facebook is totally going to work with you. So it's kind of like, look, okay, you're set on Facebook. Let's get 30% of the budget and put a little bit on Google Display and see what that gives us. We review after a month. Okay, that kind of work. Let's put a little bit more on Google Display and maybe try a little bit of Google search, and then you kind of build them up, towards, using a kind of multi-channel approach.
Good. Okay, good. Yeah. And I don't know, we weren't dealing with tenders and stuff like that. I think it was people, businesses, when they come to look at marketing, if they're coming to it at the first time, will have a sense of what it is they want. Whether that be some Facebook advertising or some email marketing or search engine optimization, they will have got it into their head. This is the thing that we want to do. And so we would have to present as all those things so that we might be in front of them when they actually come to do it. Now, I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this as well, because for me, like I would have told you when we did that course all the way back in 2015, it has to be an integrated approach. Like, these different platforms achieve different things at different points in the process, and you kind of need to cover off all of those, the customer journey and the different steps on the customer journey. That's what I kind of, certainly what I tell people now. I don't know how evolved that was when you were on the course in 2015.
Yeah,
so
you did push on that.
Yes. So the issue I've got is with these people on Facebook. No, they're not on Facebook. They're on YouTube is where they are. But what they're telling you is that the only thing that works is Facebook advertising.
Mhm.
And that's all you need to do. Now, I don't get that. Like for me, Facebook is, I mean, a couple of chats ago, I spoke to somebody who does really good YouTube advertising. And he told me that, and I convinced me that YouTube stands alone. Like if you're going to do one thing in marketing, YouTube will do it for you. Because basically, if you can get your videos in front of people and you get through those first 5 seconds, then they stay and they watch, then you can communicate some story, some message, some call to action. And he says you can do the whole thing in with YouTube. Now, you and I know that you can also do the whole thing with AdWords, PPC on Google, because
Yeah.
then you're putting yourself in front of people at the very time. I don't understand how it works if you are just doing Facebook advertising. Do you know how that works?
In what way, Martin? It works in it depends on what they're looking for. I mean, if it's just clicks to their website or brand awareness, I mean, the client can just use Facebook. I mean, I don't think there's any hard and fast rules when it comes to digital marketing. Nobody really knows exactly, what's going on. I mean, things are changing so quickly that what works for this client might not necessarily work for another client. So it's not a question of like, YouTube is going to work for sure. Some clients set up, I mean, their business structure, their profile, it doesn't lend itself to video. So what do you do? I mean, and video, it does take a bit more time and investment to get going properly, rather than just getting a Facebook campaign going. So each one of them caters for a different type of client, a different kind of company. I mean, budgets are different. It'd be great if everyone had had a really decent budget, and you could try all these different channels, find out which is working best, reallocate to take advantage of these channels, but it's not really the reality when it comes to dealing with a client.
No, it's
You can't
not.
you can't really say, okay, just using Facebook is not the way to go, or using every single channel available is the way to go. I mean, I have every different structure in place. I have clients who just use Facebook. I have clients who don't use Facebook. So it's really so varied that, I mean, applying, making statements like, okay, only YouTube can work or only Facebook work, it just doesn't apply to the way I deal with my clients.
Okay, so good, really good. So I think you're right. The ideal is that you test every single marketing opportunity, you assess which delivers the best average customer value at the lowest cost per acquisition. That is the gold standard of digital marketing. That's what you do. In reality, like you say, it doesn't work like that. You don't get exactly the feedback that you need to make those decisions. You don't get the authority or the budget from the client to exercise those things. So the only real answer in digital marketing, and I'm sure I would have told you this 100 times on the course, is test.
Yeah,
Do it and see what happens in a
it
meaningful sense.
worked. I mean,
Good. But
totally.
what I'm saying is slightly different.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that some of these platforms, very few of these platforms will stand alone. Like PPC, if you were going to do, like, clearly there needs to be search volume, blah, 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 there needs to be budget. All of that stuff needs to be in place. But if those things are in place, then you could just run PPC campaigns for a customer and know that they will get some success.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that will happen.
Yes.
this guy was saying you can do the same with YouTube. So that it's to the point where he was doing this on a, what's the word, a reward basis or an outcome only basis. And he was investing in the ads. So he goes to his clients. He has to be very confident that this is going to work for them. But he tells them YouTube will already work for you and you don't have to spend a penny on this. I'm going to invest in the ad content. I'm going to invest in the clicks. I'm going to invest in the whole thing because I know that this will be successful for you. And I think the way that model works is it probably ends up costing them more than it would if they were funding it themselves because he's obviously carrying the risk. Okay, so that's good.
Sure.
I don't understand these people who say that do Facebook and you'll be successful. Those are the people I don't understand. And I don't understand because for me, Facebook is a stupidly well-targeted form of display advertising. You know, so absolutely you're right. Like first prize, if you want very targeted impressions, Facebook. If you want some clicks, you might get lucky. Do you pay per click on Facebook? You do sometimes, hey? Okay, so they're also motivated to get you those clicks. So clicks and so impressions and clicks, I get it. I don't understand how
And
or
views.
why these people say that Facebook is the one thing that you need to do and the one thing that will.
I mean, it can get you the reach, the impressions, the clicks, the views. So it's
Yes.
a very one-stop shop, which people understand, people have access to, and they know that locally a lot of people are on Facebook. So in Malta, if there's anywhere you start from, it's Facebook.
Right. Okay.
So
And
just
that's obviously the other criteria is that the market is hugely Facebook driven. How is that? Is that still the case? Because my personal experience is that Facebook is much less. Well, personally, I don't engage with it anymore. And a lot of people I know don't engage with it anymore. So it seems to me like it's on the wane. It seems to me like the Facebook audience is going away. And I don't know if that's the case in Malta still, or is it still?
I don't think as much. It's still pretty strong. I mean, when we're saying Facebook, we're saying Facebook and Instagram, because obviously
Yes.
when we market on Facebook, we're hitting both platforms. No, it's still strong here, and clients still believe in it.
Right.
So even if you're trying and you're trying to push people, and like, look, with Google, we can get a lower cost per view, we can get a lower cost per click, they still want Facebook. So even
Right.
if you want to try and sort of move them towards more Google AdWords, because they don't understand it as much, you know, it's just harder to get them on board with it.
Right. And that's specific to Malta. Okay, I'm really interested in this. So we're going to go on if that's okay.
Excited, yeah. Okay.
So the issue with marketing is you want to land the right message on the right person at the right time. Okay. So the way I think about the two platforms is Google, the visitor there is self-qualifying. They are interested in this.
Yes.
Time is defined because they are taking action now. So you want to meet them now. So Google, if you've got a lot of time, then search engine optimization will work. If you haven't got a lot of time, but you've got some money, then PPC will work because Google is delivering the right person at the right time because they're self-qualifying. Okay.
They're already on their way to looking for you. So yeah. Totally.
So I talk to people, when I talk to people about search engine marketing, PPC or SEO, I'm telling people these are motivated buyers. They're not dreaming about owning these training shoes. They're looking to see where they can buy them. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way I talk about it in that sense. Facebook, if you've done your targeting, absolutely can guarantee you, not guarantee you, there might be some in it, but the right person.
Yeah.
But it can't be the right time. Do you know what I mean? Because, and then I suppose it just needs to be all the time. And then I suppose what you're trying to do is motivate those people to buy, pushing those people towards the time. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of creating the desire, you know.
Yes.
So you'd be on Facebook and you'd be swiping away, and motorbike helmets would come up, and it's like the latest range, and it's not like, no, I don't need a new motorbike helmet, but it comes up, and you look at it, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe, okay, let me click through, let me have a look, and it's like it starts the whole process of you
Yes.
maybe wanting a motorbike helmet, which is not as effective as someone who's actively looking for a new motorbike helmet,
Right.
but it gets the click. It gets
Okay.
the click to the website. And when people don't have a website which is set up for conversion tracking, and they're not really monitoring their conversion rates, that click is enough for them. If they can get more clicks to their website, in their little head, they're happy. You know that,
Okay.
because
Right.
because I mean, there are certain things that, yes, in an ideal world, when you're setting up all these campaigns, you'll have all the conversion tracking, and they'll be able to track this campaign to this sale, and you know, they'll know exactly what every cent they're putting into marketing is getting them back sale wise. But most of the time, that isn't the case. I mean, a lot
Right.
of people have websites which have been developed years ago, and they're not on good terms with the web developer, and trying to get conversion tracking and getting pixels into the website and changes into the website, and a lot of the websites, you know, when it comes to usability and customer experience and the whole setup, they're just a disaster. So you get the clicks to the website, but then the website isn't optimized for the conversions.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so there's a lot of different factors. I mean, I in an ideal world, you tell them, look, this website is crap. It's not going to convert. Before you start investing in campaigns, sort out your website, because any money you're going to be chucking on generating traffic to the website is going to be a waste of time. You tell them that, no, we still want the campaigns, we want more traffic, and then we'll sort out the website in due time. You get everything going, you start generating traffic at really low cost per clicks. I mean, when COVID hit, cost per clicks, I mean, they just dropped and like crazy. I mean, it's like less than 0.004 of a cent per click, you know, which is like unheard of. But if these people don't have a website which is geared for conversions, then you know, it's not going to get them the sales they want.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question, which is how technical are you getting with this? Are you doing like lookalike audiences? Are you building audiences from um, like remarketing type stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
So you are doing all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everything we can do to get the thing is, the sticking point tends to be at the website.
Right.
So everything we can to get more traffic at a lower cost per click. Um, I mean, we're doing everything we can. You know, everything that's available, we'll use all the tools. But in the end, if there isn't a marked increase in sales, then I mean, it's not really getting them anywhere. So unless you have control over the whole journey, then the sticking point is usually when it comes to the website.
Right. So there's like a legacy thing happening here, isn't there? Where sins of the past are coming to bite people in the bum. So this isn't like you can put all of these pixel tracking analytics, you can put them on any website,
Yeah.
but the issue is them having access to the back end of their website to do that, and they don't have that necessarily.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios. The web development team isn't on board with these things. They're not responsive. Um, that may be a bit too technical to understand the UX of the website. I mean, it needs an update. So there's a lot of different scenarios, but ultimately, if they don't start with the website, if their ultimate goal is, I mean, we're talking in relation to an e-commerce site.
Yes.
If they don't start with the website, then they really shouldn't be. They shouldn't be starting with the tail end of it.
No.
They
Well,
need to start.
yes. So does this go to, I mean, how, like, so for example, will they have access to their domain? So you could rebuild the website? Not necessarily. Yeah.
There are people who have access to the domain, people who don't. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that it's always very frustrating when it comes to
Yes.
the website. Always.
Hmm.
Yeah. But what do you do? I mean, if people want the traffic and you can give it to them, and obviously you tell them. I mean, you make it very clear. I mean, I have no issues in I mean, in highlighting their bottlenecks. So if it's the website and the website isn't going to deliver, then yeah, you tell them, look, yeah, I can get you X amount of traffic um, uh, based on your budget. We can use these channels, but once that traffic hits your website, what then?
Yes, yes, yes. And do you want that work? Do you want to be rebuilding websites for people or?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So this is really interesting because nobody's talking about this.
I know.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes. So this is interesting because nobody's talking about this, but this was also my experience. I mean, I haven't been proactively marketing the Effective Marketing Company since 2014. I haven't taken on a client. Well, I did take on one client. I haven't been looking for clients since 2014, but this was often the issue for us. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that somebody would come and they would have a coded website where someone's actually coded the thing in HTML or Java or whatever, a custom website
okay.
is a disaster because nobody knows about that apart from the person who coded it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's interesting.
But it's
So
different
what,
now. Mart, it's different. I mean, everybody has a WordPress site.
right.
So it's not exactly that difficult to get a site resorted or restructured, or I mean, even just setting up a new website. It's not
Yes.
it's not rocket science. I mean, you go online, you find a good template. It's going to cost you $50, and you get someone who knows what they're doing to take the content from your old site
Yeah.
and put it in a new site, which ultimately you've chosen specifically for your sector. So it's already thought of the whole process, how the website should be structured, what type of page layouts you should have, how the cart system should work. I mean, it's all been done before. I mean,
Yes.
business. No, I haven't had any client ever who's just come up with something so avant-garde, so, I mean, off the books. It's like, oh my God, we won't find anything online similar. I mean, it's all been done before.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
Okay,
know,
so that's good. But the point is that there is this issue that people don't have access to their website because their developers are not interested, they've got too busy, they've gone away, bada
yes,
bada bada bada. So that is the issue,
yes, that's a
but
massive.
nobody's talking about that issue. But I can imagine that because, I've just picked things up after 6 years. I had to dig around for my passwords. I had to dig around like access issues, like my accounts. The whole thing was kind of a mission. And
Yeah,
I always made sure I had access to those things. Okay.
it was a mission for you, and
Yes.
you kind of live in this environment. Imagine someone who has no idea what a domain registrar is. So
Yes.
they come back to you and say, okay, do you have access to your domain? Yes, I have access to my website. No, your domain.
Yeah.
And okay, that is through your domain. So then you have to go through the process of explaining them what a domain registrar is and how that links back to their website, and how
Yes.
having a hosting service is different to paying a subscription to a domain registrar. So imagine what a minefield that is for someone who has no technical background. I mean, it's very time consuming just explaining it to someone. And the biggest issue, they've already been screwed up screwed over by someone in the past. Okay, they've been charged thousands for a website which they have no access to. I mean, when people didn't understand, let's say 10 years ago, when people didn't understand about websites, um, a lot of companies were charging crazy prices because people didn't really understand. They were charging depending on their perception of what the client can afford,
Yes.
which just sucks.
It
you know
just does suck.
you
But
know I
that's also, yeah. So, I mean, I think that comes to part of the reason why people don't want to invest in marketing is because very often they do, whether it's a website or whether somebody was supposed to run a campaign or somebody was supposed to do something. It's almost like the process of going through suppliers or agencies teaches them not to trust marketing suppliers or agencies,
yes,
and like the web designer thing. I mean, I'm amazed. This guy on YouTube or Instagram who goes up to people in really flashy cars and says, "What do you do for a living?" Have you seen that thing where they're driving like Bugattis and stuff? Why don't
yes,
they all say we're web developers? Because every web developer I've ever known has been too busy to talk to people or take on a client or do the work they've agreed to do already.
yes.
Um, yeah, and that's gone on for already 15 years, and the industry's only 20 years old. So okay.
There's an inherent distrust of people, who service websites, who develop websites, because in the beginning, I feel they were on a bit of a roll. I mean, I would see how long it would take to set up a website, and it isn't that long.
No,
It isn't that long.
no, it isn't that long. And the other thing is that these people are, and I used to work in the IT industry, so I know exactly how this works. Because they are technical, because they're geeks, they just dismiss people and tell, look, you wouldn't understand. You don't know and you wouldn't understand. So there's that issue going on.
Which for me has worked to my advantage, because
Right.
I've been able to come in as a kind of translator.
Yes.
So I can take the time to explain to people, what's going on. And I believe that if you educate people and they understand a little bit more of how you're trying to help them, you're bringing on board a long-term client. You're
That's what
not
I think as well.
you're not just there to make a fast buck and sell them a website. Yeah, this is your website. uh here's your invoice, I'm out of here.
Yes.
That was the approach before, quick buck. Okay, this client, he's a big corporation. Yeah, we can charge him 3 times our usual rate. Nah,
Yes.
it's not
No.
on. It's not on.
Okay, but this hadn't occurred to me that there was this legacy issue. But it's come up in these conversations. Like when I spoke to Jim, I think in the third one of these that I had, he's like an amazing marketer and
Mm.
he's been around as long as I have. He's been running his own businesses his whole career. And he was all over SEO when it started, like insanely all over SEO. And
Okay.
no, they started on PPC, they went to SEO. He rode the wave of everything at the beginning
Okay.
and rinsed it and did amazingly well out of it. Like his issue, I think, was that he never sustained any of those things, but
Mhm.
that's okay as well. But he says that the issue is now like he will set up, for example, his pixel on Facebook, and then he'll go back 6 months later, and it will have all changed, and he won't know how to do it anymore.
Mm.
And so the issue is what's happening, which can't be good for the industry. What's happening is people are working themselves, are investing themselves into a rut. Like Lord knows, I've come back to, like, I haven't been on the tools for the last 6 years. I come to look at these things, I don't understand how they work anymore. So they are already too complicated. They change too often. I don't think there's really major changes in the industry. Like there hasn't been a major change, I don't think, since YouTube or since Twitter. Um, but they are fiddling, they're tinkering with it all the time. They're moving
All
where the switches are.
all
And
the
that
time.
I think is an issue. So what they're doing is like must be, I wonder what, I wonder what the data would be where people are working themselves with their marketing into a situation where it just couldn't possibly work anymore because they don't have access to their website. They don't know how the different platforms are working all the time. So if you're not a full-time marketer and you're not on the tools every day,
I think it's the nature of most things. I don't want to sound philosophical, but it's the nature of most things in life. I mean, I used to be able to take my motorbike to pieces and put it back together again. Nowadays, I can't even change the oil on my bike without taking it, or the brake pads, without taking it to a mechanic and plugging it in and resetting all the sensors and the diagnostic. So things are becoming increasingly complex.
right.
So,
And manufacturers are aware, like good marketers, that they want to increase their customer value. So about whether it's more technical or not, you have to have the software to plug it in to be able to access it, to be able to do anything or invalidate the warranty already.
yes, totally.
The thing is, it seems to me, and I don't know if this is the case, I don't know if it is just me, but it seems to me that marketing has worked itself into a really, really difficult situation. That's the way it seems to me. Like people don't like marketers in the first place. They don't trust marketers. When they do invest, they get bitten. The big players are as bad as the very small players because Facebook, the reason I don't enjoy Facebook is because they made me a liar. Because in 2009, 2010, I was telling people spend money and build yourself an audience because what you're buying is the right to speak to those people forever or the ability to speak to those people forever. And then, of course, in 2014, whenever it was, EdgeRank came along and Facebook were like, well, if you want to speak to those people, pay us again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so that's why I'm not a fan of Facebook. Um, and I don't know if it's because I'm bitter, because in 2008, 2009, 2010, we were making hay. The sun was shining and we were making hay. There were these brand new platforms. But it seems to me that they've done such a good job on closing the door to anyone who isn't prepared to pay. So what they're doing now is just helping themselves to significant portions of people's marketing budgets, and that would be fine. But I don't know if they are still delivering value or not. I don't know.
From my end, when I compare what's available and what they're all offering as a return on the investments, um, it's not like Facebook is charging 10 times as much as Google or any other. I mean, they're all pretty in line. And I mean, I think it's the nature of marketing is that you need to invest in it. Now, whether it's time or money, it needs to be invested in. I mean,
Yes.
it's not. I mean, um, if you want to engage with new customers and have an ongoing conversation with them and have more visibility and more reach, yeah, there is a time and cost element. So I just think that the way people are spending their budgets has changed. But I mean, if Facebook came in and started charging but not delivering, it would have been a dead duck, from the word go. But there was value. I mean, they did give clients results. So that's why it's still around and people are still investing in it.
Okay, good.
You
But
know?
are those results? So this, I suppose, goes back to my question before: is like, can Facebook stand alone? And I don't personally, I don't believe Facebook can stand alone, like YouTube can or PPC can. Um, but if people's expectation is so low, it's just wrong. Like, you don't, when you invest in your marketing, you are not investing in having clicks. You are
Mm.
investing in acquiring new customers. So if that's people's expectation, is that they will just get clicks, then, and I wonder what percentage of Facebook's customers are in that situation where all they are getting is clicks.
Mm.
Because I've seen it in the 9 years that I was running effective marketing properly. People have no idea how far gone they are, how far away they are from actually making money. Do you know what I mean? So it might be that Facebook is delivering something, but they're not delivering the thing that they should be delivering. And I'm not saying that there's not value in having people aware of your products. I'm not saying that there's not value in people clicking through to your way. These are all steps on the journey,
Mm.
but it has to get to the end of the journey. It has to get to the
Yeah.
point where you know that you are paying for customers, and you're right, it's time and money and energy. If you're proactively marketing, you're effectively in the business of buying customers. And I think businesses need to know what they're paying for those customers, because they're not going to be profitable if they're paying too much for those customers. That is probably the biggest risk in their business. I don't
But
know.
but I don't think we've ever been in such a good position to inform clients exactly where every cent of what they're investing in with regards to marketing is going. I
No.
mean, years back, it was all about selling space on magazines and newspapers, billboards, banners in airports. So, I mean, what were we selling then? I mean, what were we getting back to the client with? An
But
idea.
what we were doing, because I was there, so I know,
Yeah,
is what you
yeah.
were doing is you were taking them out, getting them stupidly drunk, and hoping that that would convince them to invest their advertising budget with you again next year. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there
But
is
did it
no.
feel good? Did it feel good from a? I mean, doing. I mean, not getting the drunk bit, but getting someone to invest 4 grand on a billboard, okay, on a busy road, for a month or two, and then when they get back to you, and it's like, okay, what are the results? What did I get back from that? you know,
Yes.
you couldn't give them a straight answer. You could just give them, look, a kind of, yeah, sales have gone up, but was it because of the billboard, or was it because of the newspaper articles, or because of the banner at the airport, or, you just didn't know. It was everybody fumbling in the dark, really.
Everyone was fumbling in the dark, and that was fine. It feels bad now you're asking me how it felt. At the time, it felt amazing. If I made that sale, then it felt amazing. I was very happy. And I probably wasn't there a year later to go back and try and make that one sale again or justify why it went. But you know what? Buyers and sellers are playing the same game, so buyers would know not to ask those really difficult questions, like, what have you actually delivered?
Yeah,
Because they knew there was no answer. You got a great lunch. That's what happened. I miss that corruption. Corruption
yeah.
is coming up in these conversations increasingly as we talk about the 80s and the 90s. Okay, good. So the point is, what's the point? Is that it's never been so transparent. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's never been easier to actually calculate your cost of customer acquisition. It's never been easier to actually um, realize what part each of these platforms are playing in your sales process or the
Yeah.
buying process, and what should be attributed to which platform. It's not as easy as they would have you believe, and people aren't looking for that information still, I don't think, in lots
It,
of instances.
it's um with I mean, granted, Facebook does allow people to get get their ads um out there. I mean, just clicking on boost post does get them a certain level of reach of his. I mean, if they want to do it properly, they need people who know what they're doing.
Yes.
But you have to give it to them that they do um, allow people to click on a button, have a very easy user interface, have their credit card plugged in, and push that button and get these ads out. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's not like they're trying to make it so complex that the average person can't do it. You know.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is much more transparent. It is much easier to achieve this stuff than it's ever been, but it's not quite as easy as they would have you believe. And secondly, people, customers, businesses aren't educated or motivated to go to that degree to understand that thing.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
say, customers are happy if they're getting visits to their website. That they need to be more demanding than that of businesses like Facebook.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
Facebook were being a little bit more honest and saying to people that we are a display, we are the most targeted display platform that has ever existed. If you know who buys your products by their age, by their location, by their marital status, by their income, by
Correct.
their how many times a year they travel away from their home,
Yeah.
how far away from their home they are, stupid insight type stuff. We are the most targeted display platform that has ever existed in the history of the planet, certainly of civilizations that we know about. That would be one thing. But I don't know if that is quite what they're saying. I don't know what they're saying
I'm,
anymore. And I
I'm,
don't know what the feedback is. I know that the Facebook, is it called Facebook Insights?
yes.
There's a spreadsheet there that is an abomination. Like if you want to understand what's gone on with the activity on your, I don't know what it's like. I haven't done paid advertising on Facebook for 6 years, but the feedback was an abomination. That spreadsheet was the worst spreadsheet ever conceived by man. I don't know if it still looks the same. I know the one behind the pages still does. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
My personal direct contact with I mean, I speak to Facebook on a weekly basis. You know, they call me and we go through campaigns. I get
Wow.
a guy from Dublin, you know, very nice chap, and the feeling I get is that they're genuinely interested in helping my clients.
Spend
um,
more money.
I mean, Google,
That's,
to be honest, Google sort of rammed that down my throat, not Facebook.
yes.
Google are like, you know what? If you spent an extra 15 euros a day, you'd be able to get 3 times the amount. Oh, la, 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 la. So
Yes,
they,
yes, yes.
I find Google a lot more money centric. I mean, Facebook, I find them, you know, generally that they're not so interested in me spending more money, but more about um, seeing the value of what they're offering. That's
Yes,
my
yes.
personal experience. But I know you have an inherent dislike to Facebook, so I won't be able to change your mind.
I have a inherent
In
dislike of corporations, basically, and I
okay,
and Facebook are a corporation. I also don't particularly enjoy Google, and this is the trouble. The trouble is that in Google, for example, they are the gamekeeper and they are the poacher. So they're telling you what it's going to cost, and they're taking the money, and they're running these. Yeah. So I don't particularly enjoy Google, and I've
Yeah.
never ever had an experience where I've spoken to somebody at Google. At Google,
Okay.
you can only speak to somebody who's taking money, and
Yeah.
I've never had an experience where they haven't said spend more money. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's poor. Right. This has been really interesting. I think we've got to the end, but I think we could probably do another one in the future.
Sure. Sure.
That'd be cool. Is there anything you'd like to say that you haven't said?
No.
Okay, cool. I normally ask
No,
people.
but one thing. I mean, I think it's a kind of mindset. I don't look. I look at Facebook and Google. I look at them like other people would look at the phone. It's a tool that I
Right.
use. You know,
Yes.
they provide a service at a cost, which is what most most companies do. So in the end, I'm paying for that service, and they're giving me a perceived value, and that
Yes.
value, I feel is it's worth investing in. So yeah, I do tell my clients, according to my experience with Facebook and Google, that for, I mean, the cost of entry of I mean, I get a lot of small startups, and they want to get things moving. When I look at what it costs to get things moving 15, 20 years ago, and getting your name and your product and your service out there, compared to what it's costing nowadays, it's giving people a lot more freedom to, I mean, they'll be working a 9 to 5 job, and they'll have this little dream of setting up, I don't know, they want to cook cupcakes and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
sell them, and just being, I have a really small client, and what she does, she puts together party gifts. So if you're having a birthday party for your kids or whatever, she puts together those little gifts that you give to the kids when they come in or when they leave. And um she's doing this because she's been through a tough time, and she needs to subsidize her income. And just by using Facebook, she's been able to get this off the ground, and it's giving her
Yes.
better quality of life, and it's helping her, literally make ends meet. I mean, without this, but in another reality, if it was still like 10 years ago, this would not be happening. She'd be stuck in that rut of not being able to get this idea off the ground. So
Yes.
so you have to look at the whole picture.
You do. And I think I am probably a little bit guilty of being too down on these things. I think you're right. It's never been more transparent. It's never, like, running your own business has never been more accessible. And I think, to go back to what you said at the beginning, is that people need to, like you said, that, what did you say? That marketing is what's the phrase that you used? Not the less of two evils, a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And what I think is that sales and marketing is essentially the function of a business. So when you run a business, you need to know that you are in the business of sales and marketing. What you do, you have to be good at it, but that is secondary to being able to find and win and keep customers profitably. That's actually what being in business is. And people don't get that. They think that it's a necessary evil, is a
Yeah.
million miles away from the truth, which is actually, it's all it is. You know,
Yeah.
business is selling and marketing yourself, or
Totally.
marketing and then selling yourself.
And anything that helps them achieve that faster, easier, it's just going to help more people.
Cost effectively. That's the thing.
Cost effectively,
And
definitely.
I think if people understood that they're in the business of buying customers, and they could see what they're spending on their customer, and they could see people like you and I come in and actually make a positive difference to that number and affect the profitability of their business, then I think this whole issue would go away.
Yeah.
But it's not going away. But so I've got a list of things that stop people from marketing. So I think it's the jargon is an issue. I think the not understanding it is an issue. I think that in the UK, we've definitely got a you're not supposed to be seen to be trying issue. You know, so in the States, it's different. Like everyone loves a trier in the States. In
Yeah.
the UK, it's a little bit embarrassing if you're a trier. So there's
Yeah.
that. And what you're telling me today is that there's the technical issue. It's all too technical and it changes too much. And then you're telling me today there's this legacy issue where people have invested and they can't leverage that investment anymore. They've just completely got mired down because, you know, it's got broken. Man, this has been interesting. I knew it would be. That's why I bullied you into talking to me.
You're just a big bully. Yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I
All right, man.
had no idea where it was going, but you know, yeah, good things. Good things.
It's good, yeah. And I think the message I want to get out to people is absolutely you have to be marketing, and absolutely it's actually easier than you think it is, and more fun than you think it is, and more accessible than you think it is. Once you've seen the bullshit, once you understand the bullshit, then it's perfectly navigable. Do you know that's kind of my message that I want to give to people. So hopefully they will have taken that away.
It's not rocket science, and what I do and what we do, anyone can do. We just do it faster because we have the experience. That's all.
Yes.
I mean, we're not Einsteins, you know. We're not some super geeks, and we're you know we're on the pulse of everything that's happening.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, I think the value that you and I offer is, like we said before, it's about testing everything. And the thing is, we are constantly, well, not me for the last 6 years, but you certainly, you are constantly testing everything. So you have that experience of what works in what situation that you offer to a client. I think that's the value that we offer.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm going to bully you into talking to me again in 2 or 3 months' time.
I'm sure you will.
Yes. And I'm interested in your strategy, like what that looks like and how you kind of arrive at that and how you motivate people to invest in that. That's what I'm interested in. But for now, I'm going to let you go. Are you going back in the ocean again this afternoon?
Back in the Mediterranean Sea, I'm afraid. No oceans here, mate. We can't all be as lucky as you. No, Indian Ocean, is it? Yeah, it's the Indian Ocean, huh?
It's the Indian Ocean, yeah.
Okay. Can't be bad.
Okay, cool. I think it's the Indian Ocean. It might not be. I don't know. I'm going to look it up. Next time we speak, I'll have the answer for you. Okay. It might just be some sea. I don't know.
Aha, there we go. We'll be playing on the same field there. You in the sea, in the sea. Okay.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you so much. I will speak to you again very soon.
Okay, mate. Have a good one.